Hello and welcome back. In this video, part 3, we continue the 12-day Wild Atlantic Way road trip. How much of the Wild Atlantic Way can we see in 12 days? And how many of the 15 signature points can we get to? We explore the Dingle Peninsula on day 7 and see all there is to see before heading further north towards Clare and Galway, and we go across Galway and Moher. We continue to stop at iconic lookout points as well as ancient historical sites and learn a few things about our new home country of Ireland. And we get a step closer to answering just how much of the 2,600 kilometre Wild Atlantic Way can we see in 12 days before heading back to Dublin. So far we've seen 3 out of the possible 4 signature Wild Atlantic Way points. These are the Old Head of Kinsale, the Mizzen Head and the Dursey Sound. Stick with us to see just how many of the 15 we do get to by the end of episode 4. So back to the start again. On day 7 we woke up on top of the Caragh Lake Forest lookout point, and it was an awesome morning to get the drone out, just explore a little bit of the scenery and get a bird's eye view of the Caragh Lake and the remote forest. Pressing on back down the mountain road, we headed to explore the Dingle Peninsula. The first scenic point along the Dingle Peninsula we came across was the Inch Beach. There were a lot of people out on the beach on this day, but we didn't stop. We carried on, although about 10 kilometers outside of Inch Beach on the way to Dingle Town, I did stop and get some scenery drone footage of the winding roads along the coastal cliff. On reaching the town of Dingle, we got some souvenirs at a souvenir shop. We were actually very happy that there was some souvenir shops open today. The last few days with Christmas and St. Stephen's Day, not a lot of souvenir shops were open. The little town of Dingle seemed quite vibrant and active. The first time in a while we saw quite a few camper vans and motorhomes parked up in the area. Definitely a vibrant little area. After a well-deserved cup of coffee, we headed off onto Slea Head Drive, which took us around the peninsula and gave a lot of things to see and do in a very short space of time. The first stop was that of the Cashel Murphy, or better known as the Beehive Huts, and although it was misty, we were immediately impressed by the ancient round structures on top of the hill just above the road. Cashel Murphy consists of well-preserved stone ring forts and beehive huts that date back to 3200 BC. The site has multiple circular stone enclosures, likely used for housing and protection. These dry stone beehive huts were built without mortar and were used by early settlers, possibly monks or farmers. The thickness of the walls suggests the sites had defensive purposes. The area is still used today for farming, with some sheep around, but they were not too bothered by my drone flying around. The stop also offered panoramic views of the Atlantic Ocean and the Blasket Islands just in the distance. I must say the site provides a fascinating glimpse into the history of Ireland and is a well worth stop for any history or archaeology enthusiast. We carried on the Slea Head Drive, and not too far beyond that we got to the cross or the crucifix on Slea Head Drive. It's a large white cross and statue of Christ that is well known near to the Blasket Islands lookout point. A quick second stop was at Dunmore Head. Dunmore Head is the westernmost point of mainland Ireland and one of the most popular locations along the Slea Head Drive. It's one of the most westerly points in all of Europe, second only to parts of Portugal's Azores. It offered stunning coastal views and is known for its rugged cliffs, rolling green hills, and dramatic waves crashing against the shore. It was the filming location for The Last Jedi in the Star Wars series recently in 2017. The area was used to depict the planet where Luke Skywalker was in exile. They say some of the beehive-style stone huts seen in the movie were inspired by the early monastic settlements found nearby that we just visited. It's a good walking and hiking spot. A short walking trail from the roadside leads to the tip of Dunmore Head on top of the hill. It's steep but short, taking about 20 minutes to get to the top, and would offer some incredible views on a clear day. We pressed on after a short break and got to probably my most enjoyable stop of the day, Dunquin Pier. It offers some steep walks, boasting breathtaking views of the Great Blasket Islands and surrounding Atlantic coast. The steep winding roads leading down to the pier create a stunning visual effect, as did the rugged cliffs and crashing waves add to its dramatic beauty. With the passing mist, it felt magical. Dunquin is actually part of the Gaeltacht, for the Irish-speaking villages, where Irish is still the primary language. The pier is historically the main connection between the mainland and the Blasket Islands before they were abandoned in 1953. It's also a popular spot for movies, and the 1970s film Ryan's Daughter, which showcased the beauty of Dingle Peninsula, was filmed here. It's also been in various travel documentaries and tourism campaigns for Ireland. But to note, there is limited parking, and it's best to visit in the early mornings or late afternoons to avoid crowds. Again, this time of the year, there weren't a lot of crowds, but we were not alone. There was at least 3 or 4 other vehicles doing the trips today. It's interesting to note there's also ferries to Blasket Islands operating seasonally from April to September, weather permitting. After spending a good amount of time here and seeing the weather change a few times, we pushed back on to the Slea Head Drive, which wound back to Dingle Town through the hills. There are several other points of interest: the Gallery Oratory, a well-preserved early Christian stone church, and Humanul Beach, a beautiful but rugged beach featured in the film Ryan's Daughter as well. That took most of day 7, but as the afternoon came in, we had to do a quick diversion stop back down to Kenmare. It was about 100 kilometers in the wrong direction, but we had to pick up a few things at the service station, mainly our clothes that was in the washing machine that got a bit stuck. Luckily, the Wash Me service technician came and sorted out the problem, and we were able to go and collect it. Not before having a good excursion around the Dingle Peninsula. We made the decision to push on in the late afternoon, that 220 kilometre trip back on the motorways up to County Clare. It was our first bit of national road driving in about a week, and we decided to skip some of the lower sections of the Wild Atlantic Way just to get further north and for a change of scenery, and the weather was looking good for the following day, and we wanted to use that on one of the most iconic destinations. We pulled into the Cliffs of Moher parking at around 8:30 that evening, and one of the tips from other Park for Night app was correct. After 6:30 or so in the evening, the booms are left open and you can actually park in the parking overnight, leaving you basically ready to get onto the scene like early morning before it was busy. After a good night's rest, we woke up on day 8 to see the fantastic Cliffs of Moher just before sunrise and into sunrise. We walked the foothills and steps and got some breathtaking clips and scenes. Yeah, definitely memorable and something we will remember. It's no surprise that it's one of Ireland's most popular tourist centres, attracting over 1.5 million visitors annually, all year round, and 28th of December was no exception. The kids enjoyed some of the Christmas decorations still around. We were able to have breakfast before it got busy. Around about 10:30 in the morning, there were coach buses that started to arrive, and the place got a bit busy, but we had a good 2 or 3 hours after sunrise to really look around the place and enjoy it. Facts about the cliffs: they're composed mainly of sandstone and shale, which have been eroded by the ocean over millions of years to form their steep faces, rising to a maximum height of 214 meters and stretching for about 8 kilometers along the coast. It is a special protected area for seabirds, puffins, razorbills, and various other bird species in the area. The visitor experience built into the hillside provides educational exhibits about the cliffs and the environment, and our children really enjoy the interactive zone, learning about the animals and hearing the sounds before we sat down in the restaurant, a well-deserved coffee and breakfast. O'Brien's Tower, found on the cliffs as well, was built in 1835 by Cornelius O'Brien. This viewing tower sits near the highest point of the cliff, offering stunning panoramic views, and you can take a walk up to the top when it is open. The cliffs have also appeared in several movies, including Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince and The Princess Bride. Once we'd had our filling of the Cliffs of Moher on a beautiful day, we pressed on to another close, well-known destination, Doolin Pier. It's a short drive north from the cliffs and the access point to the Aran Islands. Ferries from Doolin Pier provide transport to the Aran Islands, the Innis Or, Innis Mean and Innis Moor, making it a popular starting point for tourists. You can also get an experience of the Cliffs of Moher on a cruise, with boat tours taking off from the pier to the cliffs. You can really then appreciate the towering height and majestic beauty, something we definitely want to do in season when the cliff cruises are operating. The pier is also another geological interest. It's the boundary between the limestone of the Burren area and the sandstone and shales dominating the west of County Clare, showcasing fascinating geological formations and fossils. Doolin Caves, another area we drove past but did not go in, is another good tourist destination to learn a little bit about the caves and the history of the limestone. Less obvious, there are some underwater caves as well, known as the Green Holes of Doolin. These hidden underwater caves near the pier were formed when the sea levels were a lot lower. After Doolin Pier, we pushed on and found our way up the Burren landscape. We stopped here shortly and had a view of some of the majestic landscapes. It's one of the largest karst landscapes in Europe, and the limestone that makes up the Burren was formed approximately 350 million years ago when the area was submerged under a tropical sea. Despite its seemingly barren appearance, the Burren is incredibly rich in biodiversity. Mild climate, influenced by the Atlantic Ocean, allows for a long growing season despite the rocky terrain, so it's home to a variety of plant species, including the Arctic, Alpine and Mediterranean plants growing side by side. It's the designated special area of conservation, recognized for its outstanding geology, botanical and cultural value. There's a mix of flora, and interestingly, over 70% of Ireland's native plant species are found in this region. Orchids are particularly abundant, with 23 of Ireland's 27 native orchid species found here. The Burren has been inhabited for thousands of years, and evidence of human life in the region dates back to the Neolithic period. So the region is dotted with more than 90 Neolithic tombs, ancient stone forts, including the famous Portal tomb dating back over 5,000 years. The Burren and Cliffs of Moher Geopark is a UNESCO global geopark known for promoting sustainable tourism, providing education opportunities about the region's natural and cultural heritage. The Burren is also steeped in myth and legend, with stories of ancient warriors, fairy forts and other worldly creatures woven into the fabric of the landscape. We will continue to push north up towards the well-known town of Galway, but on the way, driving through the small town of Kinvara, a little castle perched on the edge of the Galway Bay was an opportunity to learn some more local history. So we stopped at Dunguaire Castle, which is a picturesque 16th century tower house located on the southeastern shore of the Galway Bay. The castle was restored in the early 20th century by Oliver St. John Gowarty, a renowned Irish surgeon and literary figure. The restoration brought the castle back to its former glory, including a 75-foot tower and defensive wall. Dunguaire Castle has become a symbol of Ireland's rich literacy and cultural heritage. It was a gathering place for literary figures like W.B. Yeats, George Bernard Shaw, and Lady Gregory. From April to October, visitors can enjoy medieval banquets at the castle, featuring traditional Irish music, stories, and a four-course meal, offering a unique cultural experience. We pressed on, and on arriving in Galway, we headed straight for the small seaside town of Salthill, just a few kilometers outside the city centre. Again, with a motorhome, city centre would be a little bit of a challenge, and pushed on to see something a little bit different. So our first stop was at the Salthill Aquarium. This one was definitely for the kids, but we enjoyed it as well. Situated on the seaside promenade, Galway Aquarium, known as the National Aquarium of Ireland, is the largest aquarium in the country, showcasing a diverse array of marine and freshwater species. The aquarium features various exhibits, including the ocean zone, the deepwater predators like sharks and wreckfish, and freshwater exhibits with species like perch and mud. The Galway Aquarium inspires visitors to learn about marine biology and conservation in a fun and interactive way, with activities like feeding demonstrations and touch tank sessions. After a couple hours of getting to know all the fish and lots of photos with the kids, we started to look for some supper. And yes, we finally found some good Chinese. Leaving Galway and heading north, another 45 minutes or so drive, we found a nice quiet overnight stop in a parking area just off the main route at the start of a hiking trail overlooking the Loch Caragh. So that was the end to day number 8 at the Loch Caragh parking for the night. Coffee time. And so we started day number 9. We were aiming to drive towards the next main town of Clifton, and a notable stop along the way was a little island with pine trees, colloquially known as Pine Island. When we got there, it was a little bit wet and muddy, and a bit of a challenge to get out and take some footage. I did my best, and something different, something unique to add to the experience, and it is a good halfway stop between Galway and Clifton. At Clifton, we had a bit of a refueling stop. The main thing we were looking to get to was Sky Road. Sky Road beyond Clifton was exactly that. Epic waterscape views along the way, relatively short in comparison to some of the other scenic coastal drives we've done on the trip, at only 16 kilometers in loop, but definitely worth the drive. On a clear day, you can see the 12 Ben Mountains in the distance. The Sky Road discovery point definitely gave good footage as well to get out and stretch the legs before pushing on further towards stop number 3. Before we get there, We did only afterwards realise that we missed one of the Wild Atlantic Way signature points, which is known for aviation, as we were pushing on. It was a little bit south of Clifton, and we were kind of pushing through Clifton and further north. One of the very well-known stops, Kylemore Abbey, set on a 1,000-acre estate, offering guided tours, history talks, music recitals, and a cafe serving traditional home food. Originally built as a private home for Mitchell Henry, a wealthy doctor from London in 1868, the castle was later transformed into a Benedictine abbey in 1920 by the Belgian nuns during World War I. I noted that as a private estate, drone flying is only permitted on consent of the Abbey landowners, so I didn't get to fly here, but perhaps next time I will seek permission to get this epic estate in its full glory. A couple photos will have to do for today. Let me know in the comments if you want me to head back there. Driving on, we went to one of the next signature Wild Atlantic Way points that we definitely did not miss, the Killary Fjord. The Killary Fjord, also known as Killary Harbour, is Ireland's only true fjord. The fjord was carved out by glaciers during the last ice age and is approximately 16 kilometers long and varies in depth between 42 and 45 meters. It is surrounded by dramatic mountain scenery, including the Moher and Salthill mountain range. Visitors can enjoy the boat tours, kayaking and fishing in the fjord, and a cruise ship offers a 90-minute sightseeing tour with very informative commentary. Today, it doesn't seem like it was going. We pushed on, and one of the lesser known scenic passes is the Sheeffry Pass. This pass was a hidden gem we didn't expect, with the landscape wild and dramatic, featuring rolling hills and steep valleys. The most famous viewpoint that we stopped at is overlooking Doolin, a dark glacial lake surrounded by towering mountains. The name Sheeffry comes from the Irish Nach Shofra, meaning hills of the wraiths or fairies, hinting at the local folklore. It was only a short 30 minutes or so drive beyond that to the town of Westport. When we got to Westport, it was raining and we did want to get a little bit more out of this small town, but one of the definite items that was on our wish list was the recent addition to the landscape, that of Paddington Bear. But the kids were fast asleep and we didn't want to get them out into the rain, so Cherie had to just go get some photos of Paddington Bear all by herself. Beyond that, we carried on to what I was hoping to be one of the most anticipated sections of the route, the Achill Island. We drove over the Achill Sound in late afternoon just before sunset and stopped at a little shop before pushing on to find a wild camping stop about 10 k's onto the island that would do for the night. That was the end of day number 9. It's the end of the third installment, and we will continue the adventure in part 4. So far we're making very good progress, having got to night number 9, but unfortunately, like I said at the beginning of the series, we did make a few mistakes. Those were missing some of the signature stops along the way, but it's almost impossible to try and see all of them, so we had to kind of see as we went. But continuing on, we're very excited and eager to see what the northern sections of the Wild Atlantic Way offer. It's meant to be a lot more remote and exciting, and we'll just have to see how far can we get. We did aim to try and get to Marlin Head, the most northern point of the Republic of Ireland, but that's still quite a way up, and yeah, 3 more days to go. Thanks for watching. As always, if you found this content interesting, click the like, hit subscribe, and turn on the notifications to get more content like this in 2025 about all things Ireland. Have a great week ahead. Bye for now.
They tell me that I'm never gonna make it. They want me to do something that could make sense. They hate when I keep dreaming I'll be famous, I'ma keep chasing. I got all this potential that's deep inside of me, but they hate when you're successful cause they try to be. They sit there being judgmental because you're trying things, and they just want you to settle and do the right thing. So get a good job, don't slack off. Wake up every morning, make a good impression on your boss. Don't do anything that I wouldn't do, and when you're making money, make sure you don't spend it too soon. Fuck that, I'll do what I wanna do. I got a different path from everyone and that includes you.